Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the new year, January 2025. I cannot believe we're here, but this is going to be another incredible year. I mean, look out, we're getting ready to go on a big roller coaster ride, but don't worry, because remember what I've always said, the ending part of this year will be a healing. But let me talk about where we're headed this month of January, as well as some of the really, really big transitional changes we're about to embark on this year for the new year. Happy New Year. It is now going to be 2025. Okay, before I get going, always want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. You will get all of my predictions delivered to your email absolutely free. Go to galacticcenter.org. While you're there, check out my Patreon page. There you will get videos you can't get anywhere else. And it is a spiritual community with live classes. Check it out. You even get my magazine free with Patreon. So that's also on my website. Last but not least, do not forget about my Galactic Planner. Start out the new year where you can be fully informed by what the stars tell you personally with your own chart. My Galactic Planner does just that. It calculates your personal chart, gives you all of your predictions daily into your phone or your computer, into your calendar. So each day you know what the stars are preparing you for. So last but not least, remember, if this is of interest, I have an online school, universityofvedicastrology.com, and you can become my student, learn Vedic astrology. And remember the Galactic Planner, it's galacticplanner.com. Let's get going. Let's talk about 2025 in great detail, especially this month of January, where I see basically historic events occurring. Now, one thing I want you to know is what we're looking at a lot this year, unfortunately, is still war. There is so much anger and there's so much going on with fighting. But the thing is you're going to see that the way that wars are being fought are different. And yes, it's a little bit nastier because there's tools now at the disposal of these countries that we didn't have before. And yes, it's going to deal with a lot of underhanded and secretive stuff that we never thought of before. So Mars is retrograde. Mars went retrograde December 6th, and it will continue to be retrograde till February 23rd. Now, during this time and during this month, Mars is going to actually shift back into Gemini. And going back into Gemini is very harmful, especially for the United States, because when it goes into Gemini, if you remember the chart that I show you for the US, it has 4 planets in Gemini. So Mars retrograde back over these planets is really going to do something really harsh for the US. So Mars is retrograde, as I said, till February 23rd, but it will go back into Gemini January 20th. And I find this so interesting that everything's kind of happening around this date of January 20th. This is the inauguration of President Trump. And it's like all this stuff hits on that day. It's unbelievable, truly. I've got to tell you, there is a huge wake up People are becoming more aware, but there is a force and an undercurrent that will not give up. There are going to be some very difficult things coming about this year with Trump being president. And for one thing, it does involve wars. Yes, and here's what's so interesting. The beginning of the month, and actually what I'm seeing, the end of December, is so turbulent in terms of fighting and anger and war. But by January 3rd, Mars and Pluto will exactly oppose one another. And they're going to be opposed to each other around 6-7 degrees. Mars is going to be in Cancer and Pluto in Capricorn. And interestingly enough, Capricorn rules governments. But as these two planets, Mars is war. Mars is incredible war. It's violence, let me put it that way. So people are angry and enraged. And oppose Pluto. Pluto, they say, is the extreme of, it's like Mars, but a higher octave. And let me remind everyone as well, I'm a Vedic astrologer. I use the sidereal positions. So if you're thinking Western tropical astrology, these are in different signs. Why do I use Vedic sidereal? It is the real and the true placements astronomically. Western astrology is off. This is the true placements, and this is more predictive because of this. So going back to, we have Mars. Remember, Mars is still in Cancer till the 20th of January. But while it's in Cancer, it is facing off in an opposition to Pluto. And this will be exact January 3rd. And actually, they're within a tight orb from the beginning of the month till about the 5th. Very tight opposition. And at the same time, on this day of January 3rd and 4th, we have Rahu and Ketu, the north node of the moon, the south node of the moon. They're always exactly opposite, no matter what. It's a polar axis. But they will both be at 6 degrees. Rahu's going to be 6 degrees of Pisces, and Ketu is 6 degrees of Virgo. So they are aspecting this Mars-Pluto opposition. And that is where we have Rahu casting a trine to where Mars is, and we have Ketu casting a trine to where Pluto is. The fact that Mars, Pluto oppose one another, which represents extraordinary transformational change, and it is dealing with anger and violence. And even if we don't see any huge retaliatory type situations, Mars retrograde can mean it's suppressed and underneath the surface. People that have Mars retrograde can't express their anger. They repress it. But there is this building, dominating force with Pluto and Mars in opposition with the nodal axes aspecting them. So I'm telling you, expect the unexpected and big, enormous shifts of energy that will change the world forever. This is dramatic. I am serious. This month of January, we're going to see some historic events. Never before. So another thing is, Pluto represents major transformation. So something is about to be transformed. And here's another thing, going to the 20th of January, which is the inauguration day. The 20th and the 21st, Mars will retrograde into Gemini. Therefore, it's going to be at 20 29 degrees. And remember, this 29-degree marking is gigantic because there's only 30 degrees to a sign. So every time we come to this 29-degree mark, we come to the end of something, right before a new beginning. And what I think that this is telling us is what you're going to find is we're coming to the end of an era. But I find it interesting on Inauguration Day, Mars hits that 29-degree mark, which is very significant because we have full moons that from the month of November to the month of April, we have every full moon will occur at 29 degrees. I've been talking about this, but this represents for 6 months, every full moon sits at the last degree of a sign, which means the ending of something before a new beginning. But we're coming to this grand, huge ending of so many things in our society, in our world, that this year represents the end of an era into a new phase of consciousness and awareness in this world. This is definite. Now, getting back to that 29 degrees. The full moon, which happens January 13th, will occur at 29 degrees of Gemini. Then by January 20th, we have Mars cross over this 29-degree mark. Mars, once again, is the planet of anger, hostility, and fighting. It rules violence. So whether it's in the US, it's around the world. There are some violent reactions happening around the time of the inauguration. I don't know if it's because of the inauguration, but you would think so, or it's just happening globally. And I'll say this because of what's happening in the world, in the stars at this time. Now here's another totally unbelievable astrological event. On the 20th and 21st of January, Pluto and the Sun will be exactly conjunct. Now, this happens once a year, but in Capricorn, it deals with government. Number one. Number two, in the United States chart, the chart I use for the Declaration of Independence, this is where Pluto is. So you have this Pluto return, and Pluto takes what? About 244 or some odd years to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac. So Pluto returns to where it was when the Declaration of Independence was signed. Isn't this significant? You better believe it is. So Pluto's returning, and it is returning on Inauguration Day on the Sun. The Sun and Pluto align on the same degree during the inauguration. This has never happened before. And Pluto returns to where it was on that day of 1776. So it's kind of difficult to wrap your head around all this, but seriously, this is unbelievable as an astrologer to see all this. So this 29-degree full moon sits in Gemini, 29 degrees Gemini. Gemini is all about information and the media. And let me just say, so much of what we were told before was conspiracy theories. We're going to see that they were not conspiracies. The truth is really coming out now. And you can imagine there's some forces out there that don't want this truth out. Why? Because there's going to be a great loss. And I'm telling you, Trump will get in trouble for doing this, but there's nothing stopping him now. Okay, so continuing on, here's something else about 29 degrees that I thought was kind of interesting. So on the 29th of January, we have the new moon. Here we go again with this number 29, the end of an era, the end of a sign, the end of something before a brand new beginning. We have to bring these things to an end. And this new moon will bring a fresh look at the world. And I think another thing is, this is all so symbolic. And there is so much that we're not seeing that will be surfaced very soon. So the sun in any chart, by the way, especially when you're looking at mundane astrology, mundane means the astrology of world events. The sun in a chart represents the president or the leader. I find it fascinating that Pluto conjuncts the sun on Inauguration Day, which can mean major transformational changes. So this could be based on the fact of the president, whether it's because, well, one way or another, it's all about to turn over and change because of this event. And this just feels so fated. It is. There's a certain fate and destiny of things to come. Now, here's another thing. There are so many major events, but I'm looking at the fact that we have January 31st, Neptune and Rahu will conjoin at 3 degrees of Pisces. Now, Neptune is deception, deceit, denial, secrets, conspiracies, and most of all, corruption and scandals. Wow, that covers a lot, doesn't it? But in other words, Neptune rules all of these things. But if I could say this, it rules things we can't see, the unforeseen things, hidden. Rahu always magnifies anything it's next to. So it being next to Neptune is explosive. It magnifies the deception that has been occurring for so very, very long. And let me just say this. This is important that I say this. Neptune also rules clouds. And I feel like there's a big fog. I don't know if it's a literal fog of something that's about to come, or it could be symbolic, that we're all asleep and we can't see it. But this is about to explode and be visible to us now. But we're not going to see things for a while. It's going to be pretty secretive and hidden, but it's all coming out. Now, here's another thing. Neptune can also, believe it or not, rule disease. And being in Pisces next to Rahu, Rahu can deal with pandemics, believe it or not. Oh, I know. Again, can this be possible? Well, this is the way of the new wars that I'm talking about. War that's being fought in a whole different way. And let me say this. When Trump was president, we had COVID. Trump is president again. Will something similar happen? Think about it. I hope that thought's completely wrong, but I do know this, that Ketu's in Virgo, and Virgo rules health and healing, and we have Neptune, which is disease, with Rahu magnifying it, opposed the Pisces-Virgo axes, which can deal with disease. So look out, this is a possibility again. But let me tell you something else Neptune rules. It's so funny because everything is about to change in this arena. Neptune rules oil and gas. And Rahu being with Neptune, like Trump says, he's going to drill like crazy. This is going to have an effect on the planet. It always has and it always will. And Mother Earth's not going to like it. There's going to be a lot of rumbles and shaking from so much drilling going on. But let me say this, it is going to cause an explosion. And I looked up all these oil spills before, and they always had something to do with Neptune and Saturn. Neptune and Saturn are coming together this year. They're going to come together starting in April, when Saturn goes into Pisces, which will be March 29th, and it will be in Pisces for the next 2.5 years. And it's going to be with Neptune. So what I'm seeing, and with Rahu, between the end of March to the end of May, during this window of time, we have some explosive events concerning oil and gas, probably because of the exploration and all of the drilling. There can be some dangerous explosives. Working with oil and gas, drilling oil is dangerous. When you're around flames and gas, you have explosions. And trust me, there's going to be a lot of this. There could even be some explosions with pipelines. This would be a pretty good attack that someone could put on us or anywhere in the world. Furthermore, with Neptune and Saturn, when they come together, Neptune is illusion and Saturn is reality. So that's what I'm saying. When they're together, especially with Rahu being in the picture between April and May, a lot of things that we considered conspiracies will be reality. We're going to see the truth. And there's a lot of them. About assassinations that have occurred even way in the past. And with alien life. All of this stuff is coming up this year. What an exciting year. But we must be careful. I see a big fog. Neptune rules fog. And the big fog of London fog, was when we had this Neptune-Saturn relationship. Again, Neptune causes these type of things. So what is going to happen is some enormous situations. And yes, the price of oil and gas may escalate and go up because of some of the catastrophes that I'm getting with this. Now, another thing that's really important that's happening this month is Venus is going to go into Pisces. This is its sign of exaltation. And when it does, because it's going to be going retrograde in the spring, it stays in Pisces, which is very unusual. Venus usually stays in a sign per month, but it's going to be in Pisces from January through May. And it's going to conjunct Rahu and Neptune. And this is actually going to be around January 31st. An alignment of Venus, Neptune, and Rahu. 3 degrees of Pisces. And what this tells me is major highs with the economy and the stock market. It's going to be, I mean, a roller coaster though. It's going to be so intensely volatile, but we're going to see some highs. And here's another thing. While Venus is in Pisces from January to May, Jupiter is in Taurus. They exchange signs. Venus is in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter. Yes, we use the old rulerships in Vedic astrology. And Jupiter is in Taurus, ruled by Venus. When this happens, this is called a mutual reception. In Vedic, it's called a parivartana. And this connects these two planets that deal with wealth and money intrinsically. And this will mean major rises in the economy that are good for the people, but then a big shift again. Because of all this crazy corruption and things being discovered and the oil problems and the situation where I'm concerned over President Trump, especially between the months of April and May, his safety. There is so much going on with Rahu coming together with Saturn. Rahu and Saturn will be together for those 2 months, April and May. And like I've told you before, the last time that we had Rahu and Saturn together in Pisces, now they do come together about every 11 or 12 years, but in that sign was 1968. And we had two major assassinations, Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. And it was the Vietnam War, so this is a lot to think about what's coming up. But this does deal with financial, economic gains. So the stock market's going to be a big way that people can be making money. Now, another thing about this time with Venus. Venus being in Pisces, it represents value, it represents money. So be aware that a lot of people are going to get really rich really fast with this. But a lot of people can lose really fast because it's an extreme of highs and lows. But so much is going to be revealed with Saturn coming together with Neptune, and especially about the oil and gas situation. This is going to be crazy. So, looking at the oil and gas, this will cause the earth to shake. But another thing, when I think about Neptune being with Rahu in Pisces, and especially this will be from January through May, expect major storms. I mean, there are going to be some storms. And especially if you look at where all the planets are in March and April, there's going to be like 7 planets aligning in Pisces. Pisces deals with the oceans and the seas. And this means turbulence. And this can mean where a lot of earthquakes are, which represents what? Tsunamis. I mean, we have got a volatile year ahead. But it has to happen because what I see by the end of the year, an enormous healing. This is like where everything finally comes up out of the darkness and into the light, and the healing that's going to occur. And I say it's going to start next October, but till the end of the year. And then I'm looking at the years of halfway through 2026 and through 2027. Well, it'll be the golden years, but that's where we're going. And it's like everything has to come out of the darkness and be revealed. Everything that we're going through is happening for a divine reason. Do not get depressed. Do not be, this is part of the transformational change. We've already started it. We have to finish it. This is what this is all about. So what I'm saying is we're going to have a very, to put it mildly, exciting year. So I see severe weather. I see crazy things happening with the economy, with oil and gas, with leaders This is record-breaking what's going to be happening this year. So, and all the conspiracies that people said were conspiracies, what we know about COVID, what we know about the FBI, the governments, whatever they've been up to, it's all going to come out, and it is about time. Because what's going to come from this, I promise you, is a beautiful healing. And people will be able to come together. There won't be this dividedness anymore. So all of these events, I've given you little tidbits of what's going to be happening. If you want to get in greater detail, and I promise you this will be such great detail for the year of 2025, you can purchase my recording of my all-day workshop of 2025, and I go into ridiculous detail for every month and all of the world leaders, so you will know what's happening all around the world. That is for sale on my website, galacticcenter.org. You can purchase the entire recording and have it forever. You'll see how all these things will come about and happen in this year. So with that, I think it's time for me to bring this talk to a close. So do not be afraid. Do not be full of fear. Because remember, fear breeds more fear. And what I always tell people, in order to prepare, yeah, there's going to be some things you need to prepare for, but do not forget, when you connect to your divinity within you, that godliness that you are within you, when you do that prayer of protection, may the divine protect me, and know that your prayer is heard, I can promise you, you will be protected. And you will be grateful that we're going through this catharsis this year. And remember what I've always said, that Trump was the indicator of a catharsis that needed to happen. If you like him or not, it doesn't matter. He is the radical shift for change. And it's not about whether he's a good or bad person. It's about what happens from everything that he just initiates this, for good or bad. But it has to come about. It has to happen. Because so many things have been repressed. And you know what they say, and this is a reality, when you repress things, they become your secrets and they control you. When people suppress the negative things in their life, the secrets that they don't want revealed, it starts to control their life and they become sick with addictions, with problems. That's kind of like what the world's been going through. There's been this huge suppression, and that suppression is controlling us. And once the truth comes out, the truth not only heals, but sets us free. That's what they say, the truth heals and sets us free. That's what we're doing this year. So be grateful. Know that it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be fun sometimes, but this is exactly what needs to and will happen. And it's leading us to the golden age. I promise you, this is going to be an age where people are enlightened and wake up. That's what I'm looking forward to, is the Great Awakening, and where people are aware of the truth and they heal not only the planet, but their own personal lives. So with that, I think I'll close. Remember, if you want to learn any more information about me, just go to my website, galacticcenter.org. And while you're there, sign up for my free newsletter. While you're there, sign up for my Patreon page. And you can purchase my 2025 all-day predictions. And remember, if this has inspired you to want to learn astrology. I'm starting new classes and a new semester in 2025, and you can join anytime. It's self-paced. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com and become my student. Thank you.